Good afternoon, hello, welcome to the TriathlonDan YouTube channel. Welcome to a video all about some lab testing on the bike that I did 2 years ago now. Please remember that as I go through this video, this was from February or March 2020. We all know what happened after that. So I was taking part in a study. A gentleman called Rob Rogers, who's a postgrad student at Loughborough Uni, was leading a study into something called W prime, which I understand to be basically how big your anaerobic tank is, how long in time can you perform over your threshold or over your aerobic threshold. And the study was all about that. So that consisted of me going and doing a ramp test, Vo2 max test, which is what today's video is about. Then I actually went back 4 more times and did several different other tests. So I'm just going to focus on the ramp test today and the Vo2 test numbers. Why am I sharing this footage now? Well, I'm going back in the lab in a couple of weeks, so I wanted to firstly look back at this and see what my numbers were like 2 years ago to then be able to compare to what they are now. I also wanted to, be fully transparent and share where I was 2 years ago versus where I am now, because I'm not as fit now as I was then. And also, I never posted this video in its entirety. I don't know why, but I never actually shared this full thing. So I thought, well, I might as well, hadn't I? So let me talk about what else is going on here. Vo2 max test, ramp test, step test. What is it? What's the purpose and how do you do it? So I'm on a SRM ergometer. SRM are widely renowned as one of the most powerful, accurate power meters in the world. So we know that the numbers are good. What it basically does is I pedal it for a certain amount of time. I do a little warm up, and then I spent a minute stationary. So this is the test protocol. I wasn't allowed to talk, which is quite difficult for me. So it gets my heart rate down, and then the step test began. So it starts off at a really easy power. It starts off at around 50 watts or 100 watts, and then it increases by 5 watts every 15 seconds, which is the same as most common ramp tests or step tests, but done in a slightly different way. It basically felt like you could never feel the power increasing. It was never like, oh, I've gone up 20 watts. It was just getting gradually harder and harder. And you basically do that until you can't pedal anymore. What they do here is we pedal at an easy power, and then I settle into a cadence, and then they say to me, is that the cadence you want to select? And I say yes or no, or a nod or shake. And then if it is, they lock that cadence in, and then it's like erg mode. Ergometer is the name of the bike. So then the power increases and my cadence stays the same, but they give you a minute or two to select your cadence first. So I picked about 82 RPM, I believe, which is my self-selected cadence, and the test basically ends when your cadence drops below 10, lower or higher than the power that the cadence that you selected early on. Basically, when you stop pedaling, this test stops. I've got a mask on, which is measuring my air and oxygen uptake, how much I'm breathing in and out, and also what the oxygen is in that. I've got a heart rate monitor on as well that they're clipped up to, so they can monitor my heart rate. I think I also collected this data on my watch as well, so that was quite interesting. So that's the test protocol. That's what the purpose of it is. I can't see the power numbers in front of me. I can only see the cadence number, which I think is 82 or 81 or 82 on there. No real reason, really. I think the power was somewhere out of my eyesight, but this is my first ever ramp test, so I didn't really know what to expect. All I knew was I just had to keep pedaling as hard as I could, which I could do. Okay, so you can see here now, we're getting towards the end of it. My body's rocking around and rocking around. You can hear Rob and Dr. Ferguson shouting at me and encouraging me. That's all you need, really, just somebody shouting you to push on. So if you've done a ramp test before, you know this pain. It's just getting harder and harder. You're just pushing those pedals. I'm looking out at myself, sweat glistening, absolutely blowing out of all orifices. It was not easy. My body's moving a bit now. You can tell it's not very efficient doing that, but there you go. People are going to ask me what I weigh and what the numbers are, but we'll come on to that in a second. I think I'm pretty close to failure now, actually. My body's really rocking. Oh, I can see my... So the Rob said that was 500.
Let's keep going. Go on, keep it driving. Come on, all the way. Come on.
Oh, there's everything, isn't it?
Keep pushing. Come on.
Oh, that was it. So yeah, right to failure. There we go. And then you just want the mask off you so you can breathe properly. And there's nothing you can really do other than try and recover. When you ride into maximum effort, absolutely, it's just absolutely savage. There we go, Dr. Ferguson just puts me some no resistance on so I can turn my legs over.
That was amazing.
That was insane. That was really good. That was brilliant. Hellfire.
That was really good.
That was insane.
I thought I was impressed when he got us at 450, and then it just kept on going.
So what was your FTP then? It was 3 20 minutes? 3. A 20-minute power 387.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah. Now it's going to 360 something.
Yeah. That's
I'm a big fan of that's only a measure on 20-minute power.
Yeah, that's all right.
I'd rather some people who have done a lower 20 minutes but can hold a better hour power than this. It's just numbers.
Don't start me on that.
Yeah, okay.
No, you won't be leaving by 6 then.
I bet you get some monsters in here though.
Well, to be fair, that's a decent one that we haven't seen for a long time. So yeah, very impressive.
That's making it easy though.
No, nothing ever feels easy. You could max out at 200 watts or 600 watts. It's all the same pain.
Yeah.
I mean, we were looking there as well, just very, very eyeballing it. You know, you're around about 5 litres. So 5 litres per minute, which is quite a big engine basically. A good set of lungs and a good set of heart and a good heart.
Big guy.
Big guy, yeah. 60, 61, 62 mils. So 62 is the sort of the relative to body weight, which is good. Yeah. But if you're saying you're 5 kilograms overweight, then that's really good. That's room for improvement. Absolutely. With a 5 litre engine.
Yeah. Because a lot of that weight doesn't actually do anything, does it? It's just sat here.
It's age, mate. It's age.
I don't know if I can play that card yet.
Okay, allow me leaving that tiny bit of clipping where they say that was good. Allow me. Okay then, so I'm going to talk through all the data now. I don't want it to be any sort of flex or anything because this was 2 years ago. I am not that fit now, but I think it's interesting just to share it. If you've got any comments about it, any questions, or you've got any test data or anything results, let me know down below. I'm interested to share and talk about it. So I'm going to talk about a few different things. I'm going to try and explain what they are. Firstly, my weight in kilograms. That's pretty simple. Secondly, my absolute VO2 max. That again is quite simple. It's the amount in litres of oxygen that you inhale per minute. Your relative VO2 max is basically that amount divided by your kilos to give litres per minute per kilo of body weight, and that's the measure you often hear people to refer to as that's my VO2 max. Finally, maximum aerobic power, that is the final 1 minute of the test, and then threshold power, where your estimated 1 hour power threshold is. I'll start with the more straightforward ones because they're easier for me to understand. So I weighed in on this day at 85 kilos. I'm about 10 kilos heavier than that at the minute. I was still about 5 or 6 kilos heavier than my lightest at this point, but that's what I weighed in at on the day. I literally stood there in my cleats, in my bib shorts, in the weight I was there. So my maximum aerobic power, so the final 1 minute of the test, was 503 watts. And the calculation that's then completed is that final 1 minute is multiplied by 0.75, and that gives your estimated threshold or 1 hour power. That's the same calculation that Zwift and Training Peaks and other softwares will use. And that gave me an estimated threshold of 377.25 watts. If I was to take that estimated threshold, divide it by my weight, that gave a threshold of 4.44 watts per kilo. Now my absolute VO2, so the amount of oxygen that I'm breathing per minute, was 5,138 millilitres, so 5.1 litres per minute. And if I divide that by my weight in kilos, that gives me 60.4 millilitres of oxygen per kilo per minute. So my VO2 max was 60.4. So the feedback I got about that data was that my absolute VO2 is very high or pretty high. Reasons for that: quite a big guy. I'm 6'2", so I'm going to have like bigger lungs than somebody who's 5'5", for example. But also, you know, years of endurance training, my lungs are strong, my heart's strong, that sort of thing. That was the feedback I got. I was also told that VO2 max score was good. It could be better if I was to shift that 5 or 6 kilos. I would kill to be 85 kilos right now, so certainly something to aim for. And those are basically the headline scores. So maximum aerobic power 503, 4.5 watt per kilo-ish FTP, VO2 max 60.4, and absolute VO2 of 5.1 litres. Now, how useful is that information? Well, not very, in honesty. It didn't really change how I trained. I didn't get any better following that. I think if I was to take it and get some specialist advice on, okay, these are my numbers, what should I be focusing on with my events in mind, then that would have had a positive effect on me, but I just didn't do that. That is something I'm going to do following this time. So stay tuned for 2 or 3 weeks time when I go back to the lab and get some more data, which is more up to date. And as I said earlier, please don't think this is some sort of flex or something. I'm not in that shape that I was then. Now, just want to share the footage before I delete it, okay? Thank you very much for watching. If you haven't already, please do hit the subscribe button down below, and I'll see you tomorrow at 4 PM. Laters.